Because I have a young child, some people are slow. Like most of the guys in the 30s. And, you know, and closer to their parents' age. So, unique.
So, my sister had her first child at 49. The next one 52.
Wow.
She's not quite there, but
Yeah.
she's close. My grandkids are her kids.
Well, so congratulations to her.
Yeah. And she's exercises. She's always doing something.
Yeah, my wife's in very good shape. And she's 9 years younger than me.
That's how she is. She's always doing hiking and biking. All right. You guys ready?
Yep. Okay.
Used by the like this retention ponds that they had. There's like 30 retention ponds along that. Something.
All right.
I guess
We'll call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sign-in sheet. Larry, you want to sign in sheet? You want to speak about?
I just want to comment. I wanted to make it last month. They couldn't make it, but I thought that the help did an excellent job on election day with all the traffic, all the people, and I didn't hear any complaints. And I just want to congratulate everybody for doing their job, or going above their job, I should say. Because you know, if I would have the place and try to get a permit for something like that, it wouldn't happen, you know. But on election day, everybody seemed to be happy they could vote, and there was not a parking problem that I heard. So I just would like to congratulate the help, and the fire police also helped. So, but yeah, if anything to make it better, I'm sure they would be willing to do something, you know. But I expect this to happen every 4 years now. So.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
And thank you for coming. I echo that same sentiment. I thought the road crew, we have a terrific road crew.
Yeah.
In all aspects, we were very blessed in this township. It was planned ahead with getting the fire police to participate. That was good. And since then, our representative, Pennsylvania House Representative Dave Maloney, he was here when I voted.
Right.
And he sent a letter to the county commissioners and the election board that's saying, hey, here in Maiden Creek and one other municipality was overwhelmed with voting, and they should look to come up with a solution.
Yes.
So maybe they'll have a solution before next election, or at some point. They are aware of the problem, and you know, I don't know what their solution is. And it also takes more volunteers to run the voting. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, but we do not want to discourage anybody from voting.
On the other side, I was voting here almost like 50 years, and we just got all the numbers now, and you know the volume that's there. This is something we're not used to,
Right.
You know.
Right.
And it goes with just the people coming in the building, the parking, the intersection, and everything else.
Yeah. And I think the new machines make it a little bit more time consuming.
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't, but it seems like from when they did the first time,
I know.
it seems like it's just a little more time consuming. So
And my other comment is I would like to thank the township for, I don't say the right wording, but fixing up the place. You know, it just looks nice. You know, there's actually a sign on here now, and a sign at the end of the lane, and you have directional parking and stuff. You got to do the best you can with what you have. But, you know, they put new siding on and built a building and improving. The trucks look nice, and yet again, I can see the help cleaning them up when they get used up. And I appreciate putting that crate in where they wash the trucks to get all the salt and grime down in the field. And we might have to eventually deal with it in the field, but that's not your issue. That could be mine, which I don't care. But yeah, at least it gets away from the well and stuff. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we have, like I say, the road crew and the residents. I'm really pleased. Like, I don't know how many years I'm supervisor. I guess I should look up sometime, but I think it's 10 years or maybe more. Seems longer. But we have come a long way with the building, the parking lot, the help, the equipment. And it costs a lot of money. And the residents support that with the taxes. But wow, what an improvement. I think when it snows, we're equipped. I mean, we have good help. So in that part, we just continue to make improvements, and that's a testament to the good road crew planning ahead.
I would like to just thank you for
Yeah.
and thank them.
And thank you. You're the neighbor. I mean, you would have a first-hand view, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's nice to hear positive feedback. I appreciate it.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
many times I come over and complain, and I will if I have to.
Yeah.
No, I just meant in general. I'm not
Feel
saying
free.
you, Yeah.
Feel free. You don't have to wait to the meeting. You can just talk to Robbie. He's very responsive.
Well, you know, it did cost me a lot of money. It did. These guys cost me a lot of money. You put that pole building up. Well, I had to put one up from church. And, Ernie Martin put the siding on here. So then he was over at my house and put siding on.
Yeah.
And you even had Lee Tree Service do that, and the same day he was over in my yard.
Yeah.
It did cost me money.
That can happen.
But thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks.
All right. Approval of the minutes for October 8th budget meeting.
I looked over and see anything.
That looked good to me.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
I have a second.
All in favor? Aye. Approval of the minutes from November 11th monthly meeting.
Likewise,
Likewise, looked good to me.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
I have a second.
All in favor? Aye. Code enforcement report from Kraft.
Okay. For the period ending November 23rd, we issued 19 permits, total construction value of $2,373,395.85. That, of course, is driven up by the building that they're putting up over at Desco. We did issue the permit for Kirbyville. I'm happy to say that is being cleaned up and
I saw there was progress
Yeah,
there.
that's good.
yeah, he's really making progress there. So now just gotta keep him in line, and I think we'll be good there. So very pleased with that. We issued 11 residential permits for the period and 7 non-residential, and 43 building inspections, 10 property maintenance, and 5 zoning issues. As far as ongoing issues, 604 Crisscross. We did an inspection there on the 18th. The property is in compliance with their zoning permit. So they were storing a lot of material outside that they were not allowed to. They did secure a lease of a property in Ruskin Manor where they're storing a lot of their product now, especially the material. Here at the place at 604 Crisscross, we're only allowed to store finished product outside, so. We still haven't finished up the land development plan, and I think they're getting close with that. Scott, I'm sure, has an update for that. I met with our friend on Mine Road the other day by chance. He's got one tractor on the property that's gotta go. And I begged him, but, I told him we've issued citations, but he's gotta get rid of that tractor. And he said he realizes that, and he thanked me for working with him. He's been very good at communicating lately. He's gotta get that tractor put away, and I think that he'll be in pretty good shape. He had a couple other things he was gonna put in the building, but tractor, I guess he can't tow it. Must have a bad bearing in the rear wheel, so he's gotta repair that first, so. I expect that to be finished any day. There's one other, then I had one on Short Lane the other day, and they need a certificate of occupancy for seasonal workers. So they'll need a CO for it. So they're gonna pull a building permit because they need to put a bathroom in, and they won't be able to get that taken care of, so. A lot going on, but nothing too exciting as far as this is concerned.
All right. Well, thank you. Any questions? No. Good. SEO report. Looks like it's pretty thin. Doesn't have anything really to report. Where are we at with the pumping? Do you have any idea?
The third district through right now yet. We're just cleaning it up.
You know how many didn't pump it?
Just a handful of them. You're sending another letter out just to make sure, so we don't do the judge thing yet and pay extra money for that if we don't need to.
Yeah. Okay, get the list then, please. Maybe I can help you with that.
Okay.
Okay, police report. Pass through that. Chief shows up. Nothing overly exciting about that. The police agreement. Chris, you have any comments on these?
I reviewed it, the dollars are the only thing that's changing, and I assume the board is aware of that. It's going up about $2,500 a month, I believe, approximately. So I prepared for your consideration a resolution approving the new agreement with Fleetwood. This is the second year of a 2-year period under the amendment that was approved last year, so not sure exactly how we'll address that next year. Could be further amendment, could be a new agreement at that point, but in any event, this is the second year of a 2-year cycle on the current amendment to the contract.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for me?
No.
We looked at it. No surprises. No.
It actually was less than what they predicted the first time around, so that's the budget went up, but not as much as they were expecting. So I make a motion to approve the 2025 Fleetwood Police Agreement.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And then a motion to approve Resolution 2024-21 Police Agreement. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Virginville Fire Company report. No one's here from there. All in the town report, anything to add, Jeff?
Thank goodness the burn ban's done. That was terrible. People just didn't understand that they're not allowed to burn. That was a real busy time. Other than that, everything's good.
It was really dry. I can't remember it being that dry.
Yeah, it's still,
But I think this week we might get a little bit of relief,
it'll help. I don't think it's gonna be enough though.
right? The only one is really down.
So,
Excuse me. Lifeline Topman report. Seems pretty consistent. Do you have the agreement? Do you have the agreement? Is it in
I
here?
do
I
not,
know
I
she
wasn't
sent
sure
it
if it was
to-
still being worked on.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, yeah, we have the current version of the agreement is the response that Lifeline prepared to the comments that Michelle Mayfield from my office submitted, which we had collected from the township. And I reviewed the email exchanges that summarized those changes. I looked at how they were implemented in the agreement. And it seems to me that they have essentially adopted the revisions that were requested by the township and have answered the questions about interpretation that the township had asked. The most, I think, important one of those is how long the term of this agreement is, and it's really, it has a 270-day termination by notice at any time during the term of the contract. So the contract goes out 5 years, but it's really a 9-month contract. So it's not a burden that you're going to have to bear for 5 years if you have a better option, or if for some reason it's undesirable to continue this contract. What they said is that 270 days is actually longer than their standard agreement. Their standard agreement, I think, is only 60 days termination, but they said Fleetwood had requested a longer period of time so that if Lifeline were to terminate the contract, that Fleetwood would have 9 months to find replacement ambulance services. And that kind of makes sense to me. I mean, you gotta think about it from our point of view that we might want to terminate, but we have to be aware of the possibility that they might want to terminate as well. And in which case the 270 days, I think, is mutually beneficial to give enough notice to both ways.
I was concerned putting it for such a long time, and then I thought, at least we're locked in for 5 years. We know where we're at. If we only do 3, they come back in 2 years, and we can get out of it at any 9 months. So we're at least we know where we're going to be for
not a lot of competition out there bucking for the service, you know, and
Right.
it's going the other way.
Right, that's true.
I'm hoping there's some relief, but I would hope that a lot of times. But it's challenging for them to put more of this burden on the residents.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's important to realize that this is only with Lifeline. So if there is another ambulance provider who's called in because of mutual aid, because Lifeline is unable to meet the needs of our residents, then the cost of that is going to be whatever is billed by that other ambulance service. So Lifeline, as I understand it, is accepting the compensation that the insurance carrier for our resident would pay to Lifeline. But that same arrangement will not apply to other carriers who might come in through mutual aid. So I don't think that's unreasonable. But
Is
that
it a possibility that other carrier might accept insurance,
it's possible.
but it's not?
But they don't control that. Is basically what their
That's
response
that's
was.
exactly.
They could, but they don't.
I see what you're saying.
So handled by mutual aid, the last 2 months was 4, August was 1, July was 9. So it just gives you, looks like roughly 10%.
So if you're satisfied with the responses that have been provided by Lifeline, and as they are reflected in the revised agreement, you could consider action on this tonight. It's up to the board.
I'll make a motion that we accept it.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Reaffirm a motion to approve advertising 2024 audit by Irvine and Company. I make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? The reorganizational meeting is planned for Monday, January 6th at 4 p.m. here at the township. I make a motion that we have it at that date and time.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. A motion to approve the meeting dates in 2025. All dates are at 6 p.m. In the new year, the meetings are going to be at, well, if we approve it, if proposed, that we start at 6 p.m. And it seems to be supported by the Chris and the people that come here.
So that would be planning commission and
No.
GHB?
Just us.
Just board of
Planning
supervisors?
commission.
Planning commission is meeting at 6:30.
Okay, we ought to, because the agenda says all dates, I just want to make sure that we are clear about
All dates for board meetings.
Yes, board meetings,
the
yes.
hours. Yeah, okay. PC 6:30. How about zoning hearing board?
Zoning is, I haven't heard anything from them, but they're still meeting at 7 o'clock as far as I know.
Okay,
I will reach out to Alex.
But they advertise them
Yes,
right.
with a time separately, they're not preset.
correct.
So it's just to move it up a little bit that these guys don't have to be here so late. And us.
And the only date I
I'm kind of
had
tired of myself now. I'm getting old.
questioned was October, Columbus Day. It's either October 13th, if you want to have it on Columbus Day, or October 20th. We always usually have it on Columbus Day, but I wasn't sure if we wanted to have it that day, if there was anything
Guys have any
special.
issue with their normal? It's the same days, it's the second Monday of the month.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm working that day.
So,
It's better for me if you keep it on the
Yeah, that's
second,
what we figured.
second Monday.
So we're good with that.
Okay.
So I make a motion that we approve the meeting dates for 2025, all dates as listed. At 6, starting at 6 p.m. for the Board of Supervisors meeting.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, motion to approve the real estate tax levy. It's the same as last year. Did not change. I make a motion we approve that.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. A motion to approve the township fire tax levy. I make a motion that we approve that.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion to approve resolution 24-19, the 2025 township streetlight tax levy. I make a motion we approve it.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. And the resolution 2024-20 for the final budget. Make a motion that we approve that.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion to approve the Borough Authority Agreement regarding 604 Chris Cross Road. Anything we need to discuss on that?
This is just amending the service map for public sewer provided through the Fleetwood treatment plant to include the one property where that, what is it called? The business is located. So,
Northeast Products.
right, Northeast Products, right. So, we had researched what was happening with the adjoining property owners. I don't know if you recall that discussion, and we found that they're already connected to the Fleetwood system through the borough. So we didn't add them to our service map. So anyway, that's all this does is to adjust the map to add one property.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Well, second.
All in favor? Approval of the Optimist Club running the Kutztown Fools Run Saturday, March 25th. They've done this the last couple years. I don't know that we've ever had an issue. They have the insurance. I make a motion that we approve it. I'll second. All in favor? Okay. Up, Chief, you wanna go over the police report?
Whenever you guys are ready.
Go ahead, we don't wanna hold you up.
I appreciate it. I apologize for running late.
No problem.
Richmond Township Police Report for November. We handled 155 incidents, 21 crash investigations. We issued 19 traffic citations, 1 non-traffic arrest, 11 hours of traffic checks, 29 hours of paperwork, 28 vehicle stops and total, 29 hours of criminal investigations and follow-up time, and 3 hours of court. We handled 13 reportable crimes for Richmond Township, including burglary, fraud, retail theft, 2 DUIs, disorderly conduct, harassment, and a criminal trespass complaint. We made 9 criminal arrests department-wide, and we handled 36 reportable crimes department-wide. Personnel, we have a full-time officer that was out medical leave has since returned to full duty. And so a part-time officer, my detective, is out covering from surgery, or he started working from home when he's able to. And to add to that, Corporal Art has now completed her 1-year probationary status as a supervisor. So I'll be typing up a letter and I'll send that out to you and the borough. And equipment, we ordered some much needed radio batteries and new lapel mics. That's all I have.
All right. Thank
Any
you.
questions?
I did, was coming through the township the other morning at 4 a.m. late night, but passed one of the patrol cars patrolling some of the back roads of Richmond Township. It's just nice to see them. I know they patrol, but that late in the morning, and went back Tree Road and back that way, and I'm just like, wow, that's good. It's good to be out there.
I appreciate you reaching out. I did pass it on to my.
That early in the morning. I mean, it doesn't go, I mean, I notice it because it's the forefront of what we do in the township here, but I'm sure that people notice it too that come through there and know. Police do have a presence at night. It was nice to see. So, all right, thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the tax collector sitting dates for 2025, the end of April and the end of August. I think these should be okay.
At this point.
At this point, yep. I make a motion that we approve these dates.
I will second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Discussion of the Warm Castle survey and the resolve the property corner issues. Is that under your thing, or should we just move right into that?
Well, we might as well just move right into it.
Okay.
So, as the board is aware, there was an issue when the paving project was done for Kale Drive regarding the boundaries of the road. And the township had Rob Hain, a licensed surveyor, mark the boundaries of the road and the township property so that we could identify where those boundaries were located and try to keep our paving project within the bounds of the existing or of the legal location of the road. As you may recall, part of that survey also identified the corner with what we thought was the PennDOT right of way for Route 662. But when we tried to confirm that right of way width with PennDOT, we eventually were advised that the PennDOT claim for right of way was only for the paved area of the street. Now, we identified a gap, I would say, between the legal description of the adjoining property owned by the Warmkessels and the PennDOT right-of-way measured at the edge of the paving. And in a situation like that, it is my opinion that the original subdivider would be the owner of that land. And Mr. Kale is here. I don't know if you have any recollection of when that subdivision
That was
occurred.
before I was born.
Okay, so that,
But in 1949, my Dad bought this farm here, and he didn't have enough money to buy it. You know how farmers always make a dollar stretch or don't have it. So the previous owner kept this whole lot here in one section. I actually have a survey of that. I wanted to bring it over and I just didn't. But I do have a description of the whole farm before that. And to me, it appears that it goes almost to the middle of the road, all the way up to halfway up to the red light, and it goes back to Fence Row. Because from here on down, it goes to the middle of the road. The original one did. When they surveyed it for agline preservation, they did not include the road. You know, that's apparently how they did it. And I don't know, that's, I believe I own that.
So,
There's like an 8-foot stretch between the road and the properties.
so our goal was to try to be able to pave a reasonable curve at the intersection of the township road with 662 for ease of entry and exit at that intersection. And if the Kales were the owners of that land, my understanding is that the Kales would have consented or did consent to
I have
us
no problem.
paving that curved area. Also, there's an issue with some bushes on that Warm Kessel property, one or more of which affect the clear sight as you're exiting Kale Drive if you're turning left onto 662. So for both of those reasons, the paving of the curve and the bushes, it was desirable for the township to be able to have the right to take action within that strip. When I addressed these issues with the attorney for the Warm Kessels, they said that they disputed the boundary that Rob Hain had identified through his survey and would be presenting to us their own survey results. So they engaged a surveyor from Boyertown, John Aston. And John Aston is another professional licensed surveyor in Pennsylvania. He came out and surveyed the property as well. And he also produced a legal description that extended to the edge of the cartway. And the Warm Kessels have recorded a new deed for their property claiming that strip of land and extending their boundary out to the edge of the PennDOT right-of-way. Now, I have reviewed the legality of what the Warm Kessels have done by recording a new deed. And there is a legal principle about deeds in Pennsylvania that says if there is a discrepancy between the meets and bounds and distances, which would be, degrees and minutes and feet. If there's a discrepancy between those mathematical concepts and physical features on the land that are identified as boundaries in the deed, that physical features will take priority over those mathematical measurements in determining where the actual boundary is located. Based on that legal principle, it is my conclusion that the Warm Kessels claim is defensible because their deed that was recorded when they acquired the property references the state highway as the boundary of their property. which I interpret as meaning the edge of the right-of-way of the state highway. So, if there is to be a dispute about,
No, wait, is that when Warmcastle's bought it? Okay,
Right.
that's not the same time in 49 as it was done, sold.
well,
So there's a gap between there.
well, what I was gonna say next is that if there were to be someone challenging the new deed, I think that the parties who have standing to challenge the new deed recorded by the Warmcastles would be either PennDOT, because PennDOT says that the boundary is beyond the edge of the paving, which is not what they've said up to this point, but they would potentially have standing if they claim, based on some historical document that has never been produced in the last couple of months since we've been trying to find one, that they actually have a wider right-of-way, or the Kales. The Kales would have standing as the owners of that strip to challenge the new deed by the Warmcastles. But I don't see that the township has standing to challenge the new deed that the Warmcastles have recorded. And as I've already stated, I think there is a defensible legal position for them to have done what they have done, because their deed, while it includes meets and bounds in the locations that Rob Hain identified and marked out on the street, it also references the state highway as being the boundary on that side of their property. So, in my opinion, the township could approach this and is approaching this as a code enforcement issue with regard to the bushes, but I don't think there's any code enforcement issue with the paving at the intersection of the driveway. If the township wants to acquire more right-of-way, either along 662 or along Kale Drive, I think we need to approach that through a right-of-way acquisition process and not through a boundary dispute or code enforcement. The code enforcement or a boundary dispute, to me, does not solve the ability of the township to acquire additional right-of-way. Anyway, I thought it was okay to talk about this in a public meeting because
Yeah.
we have Mr. Kale here, and I wanted him to hear this so that if he had anything to add, he could do that. And I think the township should be transparent about these things. I don't like the idea of being accused of going behind somebody's back and trying to manipulate things. We're trying to do this in a very transparent way, and the township has a legitimate interest in public safety and in providing adequate access to these public facilities here. We talked about the voting tonight, and having safe ingress and egress is critical for people to exercise the right to vote and not be afraid to go to the polling place. So, township has an interest in improving and ensuring the safety of the access. So I know as far as the trimming of the bushes that there was a notice of violation issued, and I don't know if you've received any response to that. I haven't been contacted by the Warmcastle's attorney, which is, leads me to believe, I'm not sure they even received it yet. Do we know if they received it?
I don't know if they received it yet. I didn't check with Sharon if they received the green card, but what we're hoping is we can use the section in the ordinance that if you have something in the front yard, it can be no higher than 2.5 feet.
Right. I reviewed that, and I'm hopeful that there will be a positive reaction to that, but that is yet to be seen.
Right.
We will see how the code enforcement process plays out, if we can get some relief on the trimming of the bushes that are affecting that clear site, that would be very beneficial. If we owned right of way, we would have more direct control, going forward. So, that's really where it stands at this time. Unless the board directs me or the engineer or the code enforcement officer to do something else, I think we just sit and wait for a response to the notice of violation. There could be an appeal to the zoning hearing board, because that notice of violation is under the zoning ordinance. And before we could seek the imposition of any fines, they have the right to appeal to the zoning hearing board if they believe that that is an improperly issued notice of violation. If they fail to appeal, and that's within 30 days, then we would have the right, the township would have the right to go to the district justice and seek the imposition of fines for those bushes that exceed the limitations that are in the section that is cited in the NOV. Do you have any questions or comments or anything additional you want us to do in the near term?
The radius at the end of the driveway, Hale Drive, I think we can live with. It's not ideal, but it's not a safety issue in my mind. The bushes are a safety issue. I've had multiple complaints about them. And my concern is that we're not sitting here a year from now having the same conversation again. Because trimming bushes is trimming bushes. Bushes grow. Next summer, we're going to have the same thing that we had this year again. And there's no doubt in my mind that we'll be sitting here a year from now and having the same conversation. I'd be seeking more of a permanent solution to this. And I don't think I'm unfair in asking them, let's come up with some way that put low bushes in or do something. I have nothing against the bushes. It's the sightline problems that I have a problem with. And I just don't, I don't think just trimming the bushes is enough for me at this point. It's going to come back and we're going to be sitting here and wasting time on it a year from now. After it's another issue. I mean, is it going to take an accident to resolve this thing? I mean, I just can't believe that we can't, as the board here, take action on something that we know is a safety issue. There must be something.
So the only thing I would add to that, Chris, is I know the violation that went out was the ordinance concern of the bushes being too high, but the site distance calculation is it's the same problem, just a different reference. And I apologize because I didn't narrow it down to exactly if it's a zoning violation or if it's another aspect of the salvo simply just for the clear sight triangles. But and I would actually say it's site distance calculation, not just the clear sight triangles, but that is insufficient looking in that direction, down to the point that the vehicle code says it needs to be enforced by the township because it is a township road. So I think on that aspect of it, it may be another approach or another ordinance. I mean, that's the vehicle code there.
So there's some science that proves the point here. We're not just saying this because we have a problem with the water customers. We have a safety problem here.
And
I don't care whose they are, and we have the proof of it, so.
And that was the township will get a report from Pannoni, who came out and looked at that. That's through the LTAP program, the free service to the townships for traffic related safety issues, just to make sure everybody's up to speed on that, and had them do it as a third party. That report from what they discussed with me is that it will be insufficient, that it is on the township that has to, PennDOT won't be enforcing that. But that then falls on the township because it's a township road and site distance.
Well, I would like to receive that report as soon as possible, because if we do proceed with this enforcement action, and it may go to the zoning hearing board, that report from Pinoni would be valuable evidence to put in the record. So whether or not that's enforceable through another regulation, statute, or ordinance, I'm not clear on that at this point.
Yeah, and again, I apologize, it just came down to some of the information he provided, how that ties into the township ordinances, but it does, the title, the vehicle code, Title 75, gets into removal of traffic hazards by property owner in this case, and that's what he referenced. In this case, because it's a township road, it would be on the township to reach out and coordinate, not PennDOT. But
Okay.
I'll get more information on that. I'm pretty sure it's gonna all be included in that report.
Okay, well, the sooner we can get that prepared, that'll be tremendous. They just came out though, right?
Yeah, just this morning.
So that's what I thought.
It kind of got delayed there.
Now, LTAP is doing this as a service to the township. Do they have any claim on any services that PennDOT might put to bear on this? I mean, I'm a little shocked that PennDOT took the position that their right-of-way ends at the paving line. I mean, that threw me for a loop when that first came out, because that was very surprising to me.
Yeah, I think all they did was provide so they have a right-of-way archives unit that when you request right-of-way along any of their state roads, they'll provide you what they have on record. The only information they had that they provided was the traffic circle, and Rob Hain requested it first. We requested it again, but it came to the same information, and that was all they had provided. I'm not sure if you press them if you can't get more information. I don't know. I think that's
Because that's probably less than 33 feet.
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, it's just shocking to me that that's their position. And, it would be extremely helpful if they would claim a wider right-of-way.
Mhm.
Because then we could push PennDOT to solve this problem.
So if we did reach out to them and they provided additional information, and I'm just asking procedurally, do they have to just provide that to the township and then the township can kind of take the lead in presenting that, or?
Yeah, I mean, if they provide us an official record of a wider right-of-way, that changes a lot of facts that are pertinent to the outcome of this situation.
I think they have, and they're just not very motivated to do anything.
Yeah, I'm
Now, if Maloney was out here, did Maloney see what was going on with?
Maloney was here. I talked to him for a brief minute, but I didn't talk about the traffic. But I'm sure we could reach out and see if we can get us some help.
I mean, in the current administration, Judy Schwank is probably more helpful than Maloney, but, we could, who's your state senator? Is it Schwank or is it?
And I think she'd be helpful too.
Yeah, all right. Well, I think if we need to try to push PennDOT, speaking to Senator Schwank is probably the best first step to try to get a state response. So, would the board authorize me to draft a letter for Brian to sign to the state senator about this, or do you want to just pick up the phone? I mean,
I think they're gonna pick up the phone. If I don't get nowhere, then we have to go a little farther. I'm pretty versed with what we're looking for. I even called, what is it, District 5 or District 8? I got the same runaround and all, so I'm not even called, but yeah. All right.
Okay, so I guess follow-up to this conversation is Brian's gonna talk to Senator Schrank's office, and we're gonna continue to pursue the NOV that has already been issued and see if we can get some movement on this.
Get you a copy of that report.
Yeah, the Pannoni report, and when that comes out, we'll see if there's something we can take action on based on that.
Just for the public's knowledge, we've tried for years, very diplomatically, to try and get the bushes trimmed. The radius that's stoned out here, we had an agreement that we didn't take anymore. It was where it was before. We had an agreement that we could pave right up to the night before we paved. We just want to make it safe for people pulling in and out before someone gets hurt. That's all we're wanting to do, and can't seem to get that done in a civil, cordial manner. So that's why we're pursuing this. We certainly don't want to waste anybody's time, but that's what it is. We got to try and get it done.
I have a question. Yeah, well, I keep the right-hand side. I don't play corn there because I got to pull out too. But Chris, do you know, did they just claim from their lot to 662? Or did they also claim that 2-3 feet going back to Kale Drive?
They're not disputing the boundary we marked with Kale Drive. They're only disputing the land between their
Right.
lot on their original deed and the edge of paving was 662. Now, the problem at the end of Kale Drive was that the paving for many years was on part of the Warm Castle property as they believed that they own. And so when we were repaving, they wanted paving to be removed, even though it had been there for a number of years. So no, that boundary is not at issue.
Just from the park path.
That's a question, Brian,
Yeah.
just for clarity. So the individual warm castles that you're talking about and trimming the bushes, and the issue is the view or unsafe view as far as pulling out on the 662. Say there's other areas in the township coming down from your place on the 662, right there, that what looks like maybe was an old feed mill at one time.
Yeah.
You can't see what's coming to the left. Are you saying going forward that the township has taken the position or the view that anywhere that's a road in the township, just like this road out here is in the township?
Anywhere.
That's an issue,
Anywhere
and
we
it's the
can't
same
see.
thing. I think that's worse, Brian.
It's
And what's
much
out
worse.
here?
The difference is it's two state roads. We cannot control that. We can only control a township road.
So it's okay.
It's not okay.
Well,
that's
it
a
isn't
state-
okay.
that isn't
I'm
okay.
being
That's-
facetious when I say
That's
it's
a state
okay.
issue. It's like when they don't plow the roads,
Yeah.
or they don't repair, or they don't clean the drains.
That's a worse spot to pull out
Way
than
worse.
anywhere.
Way
I mean,
worse.
I'm surprised there ain't multiple deaths in there during the year.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And if that's the
100%.
position that the township's taken, that it's a safety issue from pulling out to look around a little bush when there should probably be 60 feet of embankment taken down there. Somebody owns that, right? Somebody owns that, whether it's the state or whether it's a property owner. Somebody owns what I'm referring to.
Yeah, 100%. But it's two
But-
state roads. That's I can't do anything about two state roads. You understand that?
But that's the position of the township, you're saying.
It is the position. I would love to make somebody fix that, but I can't. I can only do what we're allowed to do.
So it's-
I would love to say that our right of way for the state road is 33 feet. It's not my road. And if you don't think it's an issue, and we have multiple complaints because they don't want to trim the bush, I think that's unfair. When we're over at Lions Road and we have a site issue, we go and try and change that. We're changing the mailboxes. We do everything in our power to be safe. And when it's just refused because I don't know why. That just doesn't seem to make sense for us to sit here. You want to sit here in a year from now and someone pulls out here from election and gets killed? I don't want to.
I don't want to see anybody get killed up there where I'm referring to either. Brian.
Not
It's
me
wrong.
either.
If it's wrong here, then it's wrong.
It's
there.
absolutely wrong there. It's not our jurisdiction. You understand that?
We're talking about the township, right?
Correct. We're talking about two state
Okay.
roads.
That's 662 up there that I'm referring to, just like this is 662. It's
Our
down the
sight
road.
line is Kale Drive. That's the townships, not 662.
Talking about 662, and it's a township.
It's Kale Road. The site from Kale Road is what we are responsible for.
Well, what's the road coming down to
Main
662?
Main
Okay,
Creek Road.
is that a
No, it's
township
a
road?
state road. That's what I'm telling you. It's a state.
So it only applies to the
It
property.
only applies to roads that the township are township roads.
You answered my question.
I agree 100%. There's a lot of things the state does that they don't plow like they should. They don't keep the trees trimmed like they should. But it's a state road. I don't control that. I'm trying to control what I can
So
control.
going forward, that's the precedent.
Going forward, wherever there's a site distance and we have complaints that it's a safety issue, we will address it to the best of our ability. 100%. I don't want to sit up here in a year from now, someone pulls out and gets killed at election because they can't see. That's ridiculous. That's part of her job.
Sure.
All right.
Same thing, Brian. It's a safety hazard.
100%. You can go to the state and get that fixed. That would be great. I can't make no headway with the state as a citizen either. Okay, engineers report.
The solar farm's the first one on there. So I think it was just as of today, they reached out and approved the quote that we had received from Folk Paving. They said they're gonna reach out to Chris next. I asked them to just, whatever may need to be coordinated to move forward with that, but
I wanted to ask you what the discussions have been about how this would proceed. Would they
so
engage the contractor at their expense?
No,
Or they're gonna pay us?
Andrew, when he was here, he requested, they were not disputing the paving repairs we were requesting on Weaver Road. So this is the shoulder from their entrance south towards the railroad bridge on the paved area. It is the cross pipe, replacement of the cross pipe and the paving at the cross pipe. And then, because we had the request at the mailbox, they're doing some of the paving repair there as well.
Well, my question is,
That's the
are they
extent
gonna
of it.
do the work or are they gonna pay us to do the work?
That we got a quote from Folk Paving. Folk Paving gave us a quote for all that work. They've agreed to that number to provide that cost.
Okay, so
And
they
then we
would
pay the
pay,
township.
they would reimburse us the cost to, okay. We need 3 quotes in order to do this. I mean, that was why I was asking the question, is if they did it directly and we just consented to them doing it, they only need 1 quote from somebody
Gotcha.
who we agree can meet the spec. But if we're gonna pay for, if Folk is gonna work for us, we need 3 quotes.
Yeah, we
We
had,
need 2 more quotes.
I had requested one other company to give a quote. They didn't finalize a number, but we had kind of waited and I forwarded that to them as, even if it was worst case scenario, it was still a good cost and it was a reputable company. So, yeah, we can get those in.
So just for the file, we need to have, and if you request quotes and somebody fails to respond and you put a memo in the file that you made that request and they didn't respond, that's good enough, but we need to have something to document.
Yeah, I will coordinate with Robbie and make sure we're on the same
Okay.
page with who else we reach out to. But as of right now, we have the one, so they have agreed to that.
And what's the timing for this?
Well, when we got the quote, it was still possible that it might happen, but it was just with the way the weather changed. I think plants are starting to close now, so there may be a window where it could happen sooner than later, but I'm assuming it's probably going to be a spring thing.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'll wait to hear from them, but I just wanted to understand those issues so that when I talk to their attorney, I know what we're doing.
So that did have the mailbox got it in there.
And the pipe.
So that's that. We're working at other punch list items. We had the Conservation District at their request to try to come out and do an inspection and close out their permit said, you didn't get those basins done in time, so we're going to be back out in the spring to make sure they're truly functioning. I think that's probably better. They did start taking, I guess they were watering them there for a while to try to get it to grow grass, and just when they started, it got cold again. So that's the final permit termination is not gonna come until spring. We have looked at all the work they did on the site though. They really did get the grass to grow. Any areas that were eroded have been stabilized, at least where it looks like it's not gonna come back up at that end of it. But we'll have a walkthrough we have to do with them in the spring as well.
That would probably encourage conservation to look at it when there's water there.
Yeah. And they said the same. They said it's good, it looks good, but we want to see it function
Right.
before we close out the project. For good reason. So, that's as much as I can provide for you on the solar farm right now.
Wasn't there an issue with Knox boxes or something is that
Jeff kind of got the
resolved?
issue resolved today when he caught the guy at the gate, I
I
think.
caught
So
him at the gate.
Okay.
And so they said, December 16th is gonna be turned over to Hillstone. And they're gonna be changing, putting new padlocks on them. I said, well, the padlock keys need to go in the Knox boxes and they're gonna need to get knocked up. He said, he sent the text message to him, that's to be taken care of by them.
Yeah.
So Willow Crest is, we're waiting for, that's another one with weather that I'm not sure that Grande is going to now get in there and start doing the grading on the field. There was kind of an opportunity to do that. Robbie and I did a quick walkthrough because they want to dedicate the streets, but whether we give them that maintenance period or not, and we had discussed that, we still have to do a final walkthrough for them to make any repairs that we have. And there was, if nothing else, there was one or two curb spots, but a couple sidewalk issues that we're going to have them address. The paving honestly looks pretty good still at this point. It should, but it did look good when we did the walkthrough. They still haven't, I'm not aware of a date of when the lighting is going to be updated, but that has been between them and First Energy. Yeah, so still waiting to see that, but I think we can try to push them a little harder on that stuff, because I think with the lighting not up and running, I don't know what else we can do, but ask them to keep pushing on that. But
Is Meta the holdup?
they were saying that they needed to be, somebody needed to pay invoices that they had, outstanding invoices. We
Which I
forwarded
think she
that.
said she was going to send a check out for, but I haven't seen anything for that.
Yeah, they may have done that directly, but
Yeah,
that's kind of the in between here where we may not be seeing everything, but I don't think they finalized it. It just, unfortunately, they're just not moving very fast on that stuff right now.
First Energy.
Well, them and Grande.
Well, I know.
Yeah, I haven't heard Grande moving on any part of it, but
Well, this is kind of bump up on that northeast products too, 'cause they're looking for a sewer easement.
and when we looked at that, so the thought on that, just so you're aware, when it comes off the back corner of the property, their connection is going to basically follow the right of way on Rhino Drive, and then they're going to connect into the existing sewer by a saddle, the sewer lateral saddle. And since they're not going directly into the manhole, they can stay out of any proposed improvements that are
Well,
coming out of that field,
so are they going down the right of way of the road entirely?
just outside of the right of way.
Okay.
Unless you think it'd be better. I think
Well, the question is this, I mean, with the street dedication, I mean, I thought that was already done, but in any event, the holdup is really with the open space lot.
Correct.
And so if it's within the right of way of Rhino Drive, I think there are less issues with them proceeding with the sewer project. But does it affect improvements that are within the right of way of Rhino Drive, or are you afraid it's gonna damage the road, or what do you know?
not really. I think they have enough room to keep it. There's not sidewalk on that side of the road, so they have a little more room in the right of way to do that. We just thought keeping it outside of the right of way, still, there's an embankment. And even though there's gonna be a driveway that comes into that part of the property, it would still be very little impact to anything we would do in that area at all. But we'll look at it. I think the only thing that would do is have Northeast Products amend their permit before it's finalized.
I
I don't think that's an issue.
I don't know if Jen remembers this or not, but I thought we had accepted the street and the lights. And the only thing we were holding off on accepting was the open space because of the improvements that need to be made there.
There's
So-
2 agreements, I think, that we did not settle on. I have them in my office that we did not settle on. I have to check and see which ones they
Well,
were.
I know one of them was the acceptance of the open space.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, I'm not 100% clear. I thought we had accepted the roads, in which case we could give them a permit to put that sewer line in today, if it's within the right of way of the street.
Well, we can look at it. I thought we had held off on that just two, one, the
No,
open
that-
space, the other being, it was past dedication, so they were gonna give the money, and I gave them the number based on,
I don't think we did the roads because we had a conversation about the liquid fuels.
yeah. And I gave them the number after that meeting, but they didn't really commit. Which if they didn't post that money, then I think that means they're plowing the roads for the winter.
Yeah.
That would also be true.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe.
We can double check it on it, yeah.
All right, well, that's fine.
Okay, then, the next item is the Ethan Burkholder and the Kutztown Produce Auction. They had a plan in front of the planning commission, if you had the drawings there. They're looking to put in a hoop house. The location of this was between 2 properties that they own. But because of the property line, that caused some of the discussions that we've had with them, both Jeff and I, trying to figure out what the best approach to this was. And we've discussed it with Michelle through Chris's office. Ultimately, what we're looking at, or what they're looking at doing, is consolidating the deeds so that there isn't ultimately an issue with having a building across 2 properties there. By consolidating them, then they have that issue with the setbacks addressed. The building they're proposing in is mostly on stone at this lot. So there is somewhat of, until that gets finalized on where that is located, there may need to be some stormwater improvements, but that was part of the original letter. You have the letter there as well with it. I think some of the comments we had in the letter. So I'll just give you some of the quick bullet points from the review letter here, that the hoop house is to provide additional covered space for the sale landscaping and the seasonal items that they have already been selling on the property. It provides an extra area for kind of an outdoor open air, but covered from the elements. They're proposing to consolidate the 2 deeds, which we already discussed. We talked about the stormwater, so I'm just catching up on the numbers here. They do not plan to add any existing driveway or driveways onto the public roads. Those are still supposed to lay out as they do now. And any kind of building or accessibility permits that they need will be part of that, part of the review. Ultimately, what they're asking for is a waiver of the land development process, but to basically install this and still have the applicable stormwater zoning and building permits for this. They are here tonight if you have any questions for them. Ultimately, the planning commission did review this, and they had made a recommendation for the waiver of land development. I will say the other part of this, the northern piece of the 2 properties is in the clean and green program. The portion that's stoned right now, I think it was 2 acres. They had already addressed that with the program and removed that from the clean and green. And so they're not really looking to extend into that portion of the property, which again was some of the concerns when we were talking through the project and the improvements were going to occur. So I don't know if you have any other thoughts on it.
Planning, have any other comments?
I don't know if I missed any of them that we were talking about there. I do know they were asking about grading and how much leveling on the property would be required to do this. But that was also where the recommendation was made to, or I basically stated it's the 5,000 square feet. I mean, if they start getting into that, then they're required to have an ENS plan in place for that. But again, that would get into anything outside of the stoned area. You would need to accommodate it with the stormwater that's required.
Basically, the portion of this already is.
Yeah,
This is stone.
and it's a large building. I mean, there's no question on that one. It's the 60 by 180. So there has been some discussions, I think, with Jeff that on a building like that they need a central access to the building for code reasons that I'm not going to sit here and claim. I know what it is, but
Yeah, and it can't be more than 75 feet from the next exit.
and that came up at the planning commission that actually was part of the design that you guys were looking at.
Correct, yes.
Have we decided what kind of foundation you're gonna put on it?
Yeah, that is in the blueprints that I handed into the township.
Okay.
It's a 4x4 pad under each 8x8 I-beam going into the ground and a 4x4 pad.
What you do? Yeah. Are you you can use this for auction space?
Yes.
So just basically an extension of the platform there.
Yeah, we are doing our nursery stock and pumping bin auction outside it.
Yeah.
We just would like to have roof do that.
Might come in handy for some other things too.
It would.
Yeah.
Rainy day hails, hay sales, stuff like that.
I don't have any questions. I think the planning commission addressed my
Yeah,
concerns.
I think if they were okay with it.
Is the location generally the same that we talked about with the planning commission, or was there an adjustment on that?
I think you still show it going over the property line.
Mhm.
And there is room because of the transmission line back, to put it back that we will be right at the property line instead of over the property line.
That's not good enough. Then we have a setback.
Yeah, but you're still combining the lots.
We are combining.
Yeah.
We started that process. That will be done shortly.
Okay.
And we will be getting ENS plan. We have to.
And there was discussion between Michelle by email, I think, for language to be added to the deed consolidation.
Yeah,
before
he
they
has
went
that
through it.
already, yeah.
We got that and that will be on, yes.
So they did reach out about that and added what Michelle was looking for. That part of it came up at the meeting as well.
You know, another thing to look at is typically when we approve a zoning permit for an agricultural project, up to 15,000 square feet, I can waive it. We have an automatic waiver of land development as long as it meets the other criteria. We're under that here, but you know, this is kind of a blurry area. It's an agricultural activity, but I'm not viewing it. I'm viewing it a little differently as a business mercantile use. So I don't feel comfortable just doing that automatic waiver of land development. I felt that it needs to go through this process and vet it. And, you know, I think we've been doing that with planning commission, now bringing it to you folks to.
So for permitting purposes, is it ag or not ag?
Well, I'm gonna issue a building permit with this as well, because I feel that with the public being involved in it.
If they're inviting the general public in, I mean, it sounds like you are, if you're conducting public sales there.
Yep.
I think that requires a building permit.
Correct, and that's how I viewed this all along.
Okay. So if you're considering a motion, it would be conditioned upon submission of a stormwater plan and obtaining any other necessary permits. And the consolidation deed being recorded. Anything else?
Throw in the November 25th letter from our office as well.
I'll make that motion with those conditions. I'll second the plan development. All in favor? Aye. All right.
Okay. So there is two very similar discussions here on the next ones. The PennDOT 222 widening. It says ENS plan approval. It's actually the submission. As they get their NPDS permit, they're required to notify the township that this project is coming through. There's a form that can be filled out by the township just to let DEP know where this stands as far as land development. They're not going to be coming through any land development for that project. So we could fill this out, or if they don't get a response in 30 days, it's deemed that the township doesn't have any comments to provide.
And that's what all this is about.
Yeah, this is just a necessary step to go through the motions, but it's basically saying the project's still moving forward. I don't know if the board has any comments or just would choose to not send a response on this and let it keep going in the way that it's going.
Are they acquiring right away to install stormwater management facilities?
You have to.
I don't think you weren't here at the last meeting,
No.
and what came up was LB Fencing. Their engineer, which is Great Valley, had reached out and said that the taking on their property is going to eliminate 8 of the 10 parking spots on their property, which then leaves them with 2 parking spots. They now have to locate somewhere else on that lot. And their concerns were, and it wasn't formal, it was just an informal discussion, but how would the township want them to approach that? Would it be a formal land development process, or could it be a revision to the existing land development? What's that? A revision to recorded plan, something along those lines. But they haven't gotten into where can we put them. Is there any issues? I don't think they will have issues, but then they started asking the questions of, okay, we're losing, let's call it 40 feet on the frontage of our property from this taking that now just eliminates 40 feet of the commercial space they had on their property.
That's why they get big damages.
Again, this was informal.
I think we
Bringing
wanted
the
to know if
discussion
they had
point
to
up.
figure the damages in, if they had to come and go through the whole process planning.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that
I mean, if they're only relocating the parking spaces that they already have, I would be inclined to say it's an amendment to the existing plan. If they wanted to change anything in terms of traffic flow or stormwater management or adding new commercial facilities, I mean, that would be enough to say it should be a new plan. So I don't know if they have refined what they're doing enough.
Basically, let's ask them for more information and then make a better decision from there. But the board seemed somewhat inclined to say we're not going to put them through a full land development plan if this is thrown on them. But let's kind of hold that until they submit something and
If
show us
the
what.
township takes a firm position that a full planning process is required, they can include that in their request for damages from PennDOT. So I
I
don't
think we
think,
talked about planning for the worst
Okay.
when they figured it out.
Okay.
Because when you say traffic change, if they have certain space in the front, they're gonna have to.
yeah,
move it
I
around.
think, I'm concerned if we cut too many corners that it could have unintended negative outcomes.
Well, I look next door and it's the truck repair company there. I can't think of their
Yeah,
That's
name.
gonna impact a lot.
It's gonna be L&B fencing. It's gonna be them
It's
too.
gonna be everybody in that whole corner.
And Detroit gonna have to move their whole fence back.
Oh, yeah.
For LB,
No, and Detroit, their
Oh, yeah.
fences, they're gonna have to move the whole fence back.
I think if LB's losing those parking spots, I
Yeah.
think they might
That's
have
a-
to adjust it too.
That's a lot of room.
But-
They're not just widening, they're actually changing the direction of that road. It's, when you look at the whole plan, you go, whoa, when you realize how many properties this is gonna affect, this is, it's gonna be a big deal.
And
This, just, and then it's not only the road, it's the retention and the stormwater that goes with it. There's 30-some retention in that short section.
And they were given a
Take a lot
drawing.
of property, so. Go ahead.
No, they were given a drawing that just showed an area that they're taking. And when the engineer from Gray Valley requested plans so they could better understand it, they just said, well, we haven't published those yet, so no.
Yeah.
So they really don't- They can't make too much of a decision yet either. I think they're still working on it, so.
Well, whatever choice the board makes on this, you're gonna live with the consequences of that decision for a long time. So I think it's advisable to try to get it right. And
Yeah, just plan for the worst
Yeah,
when they figure out their damages.
okay.
Then we have some latitude.
To go back to the notification about the permitting on the PennDOT project, did the board want to provide any feedback on that, or just let the 30 days lapse?
Yeah, I want to make that motion not to do anything.
Okay. Then Fleetwood Borough Authority, the proposed solar panels they have on that property, that's kind of gone quiet for a little while. I think they're moving forward with their permits finally, so that's why we got a notification. It's the same from them. They also submitted a time extension, but we can touch on that. Typically, when we fill out these planned land developments for the permitting response, we'll check the boxes for no, it hasn't received formal approval, but add a letter just stating it's going through the process, and we can't do much more than that and say that it's pretty much a form letter from our office, whether you want us to send it or not on this one. I don't think it makes any difference on how DEP reviews this, whether they get a response or not on these, unless it's a pushback in a negative way from the municipality. So,
If we don't have to respond, it's not going to make an impact.
yeah, you have 30 days to respond. If not, then it just
Okay, yeah.
goes in the formula.
I said we don't do that either. Are we gonna make a motion to approve the additional time?
And that was to, I'm looking at February 10th, does that sound right? So that would be to the 10th.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
It's finally open.
And what about this one for permit application?
Which one is that?
To approve the 102 permit application, that's what we talked about, we're not gonna.
Oh, that's the one instead of, the board can, or the township can respond to that application.
Okay, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. I chose to just let it lapse.
Okay.
Solicitor's report.
All right. I don't have a new report for you. Michelle didn't make one for December. I think I had her too busy fighting with the Berkshire Mall last 2 weeks, so.
Yeah, we can skip that till January.
So I don't think there's any action items. I went over last month's report with Jen, and it seems like we're up to date with what we talked about last month, so I don't think there's any action items that I'm gonna recommend it. So anyway, that's the only agenda item I have. Is there any questions you have for me? Anything that you're looking for?
I do not.
All right, thank you.
Miscellaneous business, this adjacent.
I just wanted to let everybody know the Fleetwood Maiden Creek Richmond Joint
Oh,
Comprehensive
yeah.
Plan is going on. We do have a sign on our door out front to scan for the QR code. They're asking for the public's input as to what you would like to see in the township, what you would like to see happen in the township. If you're happy with the way things have been the past 10 years, you would like it to go smoothly, you want warehouses in it, etc. They would
Basically
just,
zoning.
yeah, they would like to have some input from the residents. There was a few people that were here at voting time that have actually scanned it and took the questionnaire, just trying to get as much input as they can to help us out with that.
Okay.
That's it.
Monthly road report. Anything to add, Robbie? What's fluid filmed the frame?
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
What's that?
Fluid filmed the frame.
It's like a greasy substance that we spray when we've been spraying on the frames before winter, and it helps repel salt and stuff like that.
I just never heard of that.
Yeah. It's something that we've started a couple of years ago since we've been getting newer trucks. We usually try and do it 2 times, once before winter and once, throughout winter as it wears off. It helps protect from salt, and that sort of thing.
Good.
I'll talk about the mailboxes, I guess, on Fleetwood Lyons Road. I got in touch with one of the supervisors from the Landon Post Office, and they had sort of agreed that the mailboxes could be moved from the intersection of Driveville Road and Fleetwood Lyons Road all the way out to, I believe it would be Jody Doctor's farm. Their mailbox is on Floyd Kurtz's side. So they had agreed to that those mailboxes could be moved. I am almost certain that they're under the impression that they need to have all of those mailboxes moved to the house side in order for that to happen. So Jen and I sort of drafted up a letter, and we thought that we would have you guys review it, have the supervisor from the post office review it, send it out to the residents that are going to be affected in that area, see if we can get everybody to agree to do that. And then after winter, we can take action on that if everybody agrees. So that's where we're at with that.
I read the letter, I thought it was okay.
I did
Like
too.
Chris's input on it.
Yeah, Chris, what's the responsibility of them to move them? If the post office, must the post office direct that? Must we direct that?
The post office could direct them. We don't have the authority to tell them where to put the mailboxes, but the post office could.
If we need to push harder, Robbie, see how you make out. If we need to push them harder to get on that side.
Well, I think it's ultimately, I think it's going to be up to the homeowners agreeing to do so. The post office has already said that they're okay with that move. I need to get better clarification from the post office to make sure that every single mailbox needs to be moved. But I would assume that
I would think the post office would say, we're gonna deliver on this side of the road starting January 1st
right.
or July 1st. If you want your mail, that's where your mailbox would. My assumption, I would get clarity on that.
Right.
Because they're not gonna, I don't know that you're gonna have unanimous moving it just to move it. I think you're gonna have a little bit of teeth to make it on that side so they don't have to cross the road. But get clarity from the post office also.
One thing that I think would enhance this letter would be to define the area that we're talking about. Is it so many feet on School Road, so many feet on Fleetwood Lyons Road, or which road is,
It's all on Fleetwood Lyons Road.
so Fleetwood Lyons Road from the intersection of School Road for how many feet?
For Driveville out to,
It's from Driveville Road out to Oak Haven Road, and then there's one mailbox a couple hundred feet down from Oak Haven Road, which says Judy Doctor's property.
Okay,
But
that,
all of the other mailboxes are within Oak Haven Road and Driveville Road.
I think it would be good to add that to the letter to just say it's within this specific stretch. Because this letter, people could walk around up and down the street and ask their neighbors who got the letter, and
Yeah.
I think it ought to say.
If you spelled it out, just school to Oak Haven, everybody would understand that,
Okay.
even though there's one exception to that.
Okay.
Or tribal road.
Yeah, Drivewell Road to Oak Haven Road.
Excuse me, yeah. Tribal. Did you get the mowing tractor back together?
Yes.
And it works?
We just mowed around here a little bit. We're gonna do some brush cutting here soon.
Good.
But everything seems to be working. It doesn't vibrate nearly as much and it should last the life of the tractor.
All right. Secretary Treasurer's report.
In the general fund, we have check numbers 11,736 to 11,773, including EFTs for $123,922.78.
Make a motion with that.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
State fund, we had check numbers 2128 and 2129 for $18,572.25.
Make a motion with that.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Light fund, we had check number 2177 for $762.19.
I'll make a motion with that.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Sewer fund, check numbers 3261 to 3269, including EFTs for $20,671.64.
I'll make a motion with that.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
And as of the report, we did not have any checks for Walnut Town or Virginville as of yet.
Good.
I did include in the packets the renewal for the dental and vision benefits. Our current is with Guardian. Seltzer Group is recommending Lincoln Financial for our renewal as of January 1st.
I make a motion to accept that. Change. I'll try to do a little bit of savings.
Yeah, it's cheap.
All in favor? Aye.
And that is all I have.
One other thing I wanted to add to the agenda. Topton had put a request in for some funding if we do a tax levy next year for emergency services. But I was just wondering if it would be advisable just to make a donation of $1,000 to them just to cover their part of the township, at least for this year, 2025.
Are you asking to add that to the budget, or?
Yeah, or how do we do that? When we approve the budget, can we?
Let's see,
I don't think it was
when did we approve the budget?
just tonight.
I would suggest, since this is not on the agenda,
Put it
that
on.
you go back, well, you can do it next time, but I think you could add it to the budget tonight. It's a minor adjustment in the budget. I think that's within the bounds of what you're authorized to do. So I would suggest you go back and amend your motion to approve the budget to add this expenditure and have Jen incorporate it into the numbers on the budget.
Okay.
Discussion, you guys have an issue with it or?
No, I think we should have something.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean,
Maybe get a better handle on it for 2026.
right.
I think we should do something. I mean, their costs are up too.
I got
All right, I'll make that motion to amend the budget to include the 1,000 for the Topton
Okay.
ambulance.
no second.
All in favor? That's all I have. Any participation from the floor?
Just a question.
Go ahead.
Some time ago, I had asked about dumping yard waste, yard debris, and I think the township was having a conversation with Maiden Creek and Diane Hollenbach, the township manager there,
Mhm.
and maybe give some sort of feedback by November. Has anything come of that? Any progress? Is
No, no progress. Diane doesn't work there anymore.
Oh, doesn't she? I didn't know that.
She's up at Greenwich, so
Okay.
we haven't, I think we had some conversation with them, but I don't think it was something that was doable, so we were looking at something here, but we hadn't got much feedback. we can revisit that.
I've checked at a couple of different, like Zawicki's and a couple other places for yard waste, and a lot of them are just stating that they just don't do it anymore. No one is doing the yard waste. They have a few places with Berks counties, over at Albright College, they have contracts with a few people, but they want to have an actual facility so they can bring a grinder here and grind the stuff here. But then you're just having the brush and everything else being brought into the parking lot, and then they're gonna come with a huge grinder and grind everything here, and we just don't have space for that.
And the big problem is, they grind it, and then they can't get rid of it,
Right.
because they plead with us to spread it on the fields, but it has a negative impact on the fields, so you don't want to do that, they think it's, it has some value. Actually, it takes away value, so.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
It's
You know,
And the
Berks-
problem, they dump garbage too. That's why they
Yeah.
closed the first one. They
Building
Right.
materials and stuff.
No.
Berks Soil and Stone had an agreement with some of your municipalities, Leesport's an example, over there in Dobberville. That allows the residents of them, either boroughs or townships to dump.
It's a little bit remote from Richmond Township.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, the gentleman, I think, touched on it here before the meeting about a burn, no burn. Right? What are you supposed to do with this stuff?
Don't burn it now.
Hang on to it till the burn ban is lifted.
It is lifted.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now it is.
Problem is somebody's
I
burning
think
on the
we'll
way over
continue
here.
to find a solution. I can reach out to Zawiki too. That would probably be
Brian,
right at the edge of-
well, one time the county had recycling fees money for that kind of stuff, but I don't hear that happening anymore.
They don't have recycling revenue anymore. Once upon a time, recycling had value.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
You pay, I have a small Tacoma, 5-foot bed. I'll go over to Berks Soil and Stone and say, can I dump my yard waste here? Fills that bed up, $25. That's what they charge me for that. You've touched on this, Brian.
As well,
Difficult economic times, right? You touched on it with the Lion ambulance agreement you guys discussed months back, and how people are crunched during these times. $25 goes a long way when you get money, or you're short on money, and your health care is going up, and your dental insurance is going up, and everything else is going up. Taxes are going up. Be nice if, instead of just having a place to put your tires, get something here for your residents to dump their yard waste. Some people don't want to burn. You had conversation, different zones that you didn't want to burn in, right? It's on a map here somewhere. Is it in the back? It was in the back. What do you do with this stuff?
It is a challenge. So maybe we'll just try and reach out. Here's a challenging spot to put it, especially Monterey. They've done garbage with freaking tires. We have to catch people coming in with 30, 40 tires from out of the township. So
The wheels on them and everything.
rules on them. So it's
The problem is
People
the
would-
project, it's the people dumping the stuff, that's the problem.
correct. If everybody would be honest and did the right thing, we wouldn't, but that's not the case.
Okay, put a camera up.
Yeah, we have cameras. So it's still, it's a mess.
Put one up that works.
We have to reach out and try and track them down. And so we'll continue to see what we can come up with, because I agree that'd be a great benefit for the township. It was great when the recycling was here too.
I have one more thing. Those are PennDOT plans.
Yeah, those are the ENS, the water, right? Stormwater. They're not actual claims to the roads.
Okay. The reason I asked that, about 40 years ago, the state spent a lot of money engineering 222 and going different ways. And I think on that plan, I actually saw where they had I think it was 33-foot right of way on 662. So I was wondering if any of those plans might have a right of way on 662. Or even the original plan, if you can get it.
The detail I saw just ended at the circle.
Right, that's the detail that I saw.
Yeah,
Right
about
there. They have
100
the
foot out of
circle.
the circle.
They don't have it back this way. But
Yeah.
I'll reach out to Judy. I'm sure they have something somewhere.
Yeah, somebody has something
It's
someplace.
just hard to get them to do anything.
Yeah.
Call them, we don't have nothing.
But who do you call, Reading or Allentown or?
Allentown, what is it, District
Yeah,
5?
five, yeah.
So they did the circle.
So that was probably 3-4 generations ago. The people that filed that are long gone.
Yeah. All right, if there's nothing else, gonna make a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Good to see you, Larry.
Yeah,
It's been a while.
yeah. I see your brother like every month or a month or two.
Farm Bureau stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, well, he's a big deal in the farm bureau now.
Yeah, he's got this, so he's gonna